You just tuned in to Up for Discussion. This episode of Up for Discussion is brought to you by Ultra Products. Ultra Products is nearly a 4,000 square foot archery shop located in Fairfield, Illinois. They carry a full line of bows including Mathews, Bowtech, Darton, Bear, and Raven. Ultra also has a fully equipped service department that works on all types of bows. Come into Ultra Products and let us take care of all your archery needs. This is episode 11, the Battle of the Bows. This is going to be a good one. We're pretty excited about it. We were more excited about a minute and a half ago when we said all this the first time.
Yeah.
So we've got more. We just want to welcome our guests starting out. Our guest for this evening, we have Mr. Jarrett Lewis. Jarrett works in the shop here for us some and is very good with bows. And not only that, but we decided in the silence earlier that Jarrett's middle name is Big Dog. Yeah. So Jarrett Big Dog Lewis. Also this evening, we have Josh Eblin with us. If you guys have been around the shop, maybe you've seen Josh come in. Josh is pretty savvy with a bow. He's a good businessman. Josh, what business do you run?
I run Josh Eblin Trucking.
Josh?
A small local trucking operation.
Hey, there's no small.
Well.
Changing the world one load at a time.
We are.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Locked and loaded.
Yeah.
So we've got Josh in. Josh is a guy that came into the shop in November. Quickly, we recognized that Josh was going to be a good friend. He has a very vibrant personality, and we have a good time with him. So all that being said, this evening we are going to look at all the latest bows, all the new releases, which they've been out for a while. But tonight we are looking at them. I'm going to turn that down.
Yeah.
We are looking at them this evening and going to figure out what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah, and it's the age-old Ford or Chevy or Dodge. That's why we're calling it the battle.
Yeah.
We were talking before we got started. If it would have been cowboy days, what would it have been? It'd have been, I shoot a Colt, I shoot a whatever else there was.
That'll be what you ride.
Yeah. I like a pinto horse, and I like a good bay horse.
I like an Appaloosa.
Palomino for me there, boys.
Yeah. So it's an age-old thing that it is what it is. All these bows we'll talk about before we get too deep are good bows.
Absolutely.
Great companies, good bows, putting out good stuff. But there's always I don't know.
The way I like to say it is, if you don't see it on our shelves, that's because it's garbage.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
No, I'm just kidding.
That, or if I don't shoot it. No,
that's the way a lot of people think.
That's how you feel, though,
yeah.
And that's why this is. And there's always a long-standing thing amongst us, anyway, of whatever I'm shooting's better than what you're shooting. And Doug's not here. He should have stayed around. We could have just really turned this into World War III on this deal, because he is very good about giving me a hard time anyway about what I'm shooting.
He's already doing it in the comments.
Here's what's nice. We can drop some bombs on Doug and he can't refute. So,
and basically what I've got will destroy whatever he's got. And that's how this thing rolls.
Yeah.
So that being said, we'll have fun with it. But we also, we want to talk about, we have a unique experience where we get to pull them apart, work on them, tune them, all that stuff. So there's maybe a different insight we have than the guy that takes it home and shoots it. He knows he loves it. He knows it fits him. He may know more about it than that, but he may not. And that's some of the things we might get to talk about in this evening.
And here's one thing I want to highlight before we get rolling way deep into it. There's one sponsor for tonight, and that's Ultra Products.
Yeah.
There's not a bow that's sponsoring this. There's not a company that's sponsoring this. So when we say what we think, it's what we think. We're not getting paid by anybody. We're not getting sponsored by anybody. And because of that, from the get-go, we kind of specified that's the way we want this podcast to be.
Right.
Like, we don't care if we have sponsors, but we don't want them to be archery industry sponsors.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to
because-
watch that because you inevitably you have to watch what you say or lean. And I said we're not here to destroy any of these bows
No,
because they're all going to be great bows. And at the end of the day, you know,
there's
Ford,
some that
Chevy,
stand out
Bologna
amongst
ham.
others.
There are things that
But-
jump, and some of those things we can talk about behind.
Bologna? What?
I said, well, you got Ford, Chevy, you got ham bologna. You know, it's all personal preference.
Or ribeye. I mean,
steak or pork, you know, beef
Yeah.
or pork.
poverty mentality over here.
I'll be fried.
Hey, you know what? I mean, a good fried bologna sandwich sometimes. Put a loose egg on there and it
Oh,
goes
man.
a long ways. But
All right. So what we're going to do is, do we want to start with a specific bow? Do we want to start with a specific company? How do we want to roll that?
I mean, it would be awesome to start with what we all shoot,
Okay.
but that
Well,
it's
what
going to be a little. That's going to
little
lean
biased.
one direction probably.
let's do this. Let's go ahead and make our biases known.
Yeah.
To the people watching at home.
Okay. Our
So,
biases.
yeah.
known.
Yeah.
That sounds scientific.
So if I was going to say what my bias is Mathews.
That's-
I like Mathews.
You're going to lean.
I lean Mathews.
You're going to lean Mathews.
Yeah, and I'm a Mathews shooter as well. I bleed Mathews.
Okay.
If you cut him, he bleeds Mathews.
He bleeds McPherson.
Yeah.
For the
Jared?
longest time, I shot Mathews, but I'm going to switch it up this year and go with the Hoyt.
Okay.
So shoot Hoyt.
Now I will say Hoyt is the one bow that this evening we are not talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we don't have
we don't have one
it
in
here.
stock, and
Yeah, I
that's
mean
why.
we've got some used ones, but we don't have their new stuff, and I've not crawled all over their new stuff.
And here's the deal: if Hoyt wants to ship us a bow so we can talk about it, I don't care to talk about it. But right now they are not in stock because I don't want to spend $25,000. What's Doug saying?
Doug.
Oh man.
That's
Doug.
that would be. Wouldn't that be a terrible name for a bow? The Exploder.
I've already gone there.
Well, I'll go with my you Mathews, Hoyt,
Yeah.
Darton. I've
Oh.
I've my last three bows. No, two.
You shot one before the Prelude.
Last two.
Yeah.
Last two.
Yeah, you
I
had
think I
the
shot-
Spectra E,
Yes.
and then you had the
Okay.
Prelude,
And I've already picked a new Darton. for
and you
this year,
have. So
I
you're
could say
going to
my-
be three.
the three. I'll
Yeah.
be three.
Yeah.
So my last two and gonna be three bows have been a Darton.
And even though I am a Mathews guy, I will say that Darton makes a solid bow.
There
Very
you go.
solid.
See, you're
So-
already slipping. Your clutches are slipping already.
Well, hey, I'm unbiased. So,
Well, that's our bias. We just said that was our bias.
I'm unbiased. Oh man.
So what you're saying, that's what you're shooting now.
Yeah, yeah.
You're shooting a
Right now I'm
Mathews
shooting
now.
Mathews, but
Josh is shooting a Mathews now. Jarrett is in between, so he may be able to be saved before he
Yeah.
yeah.
We
totally
hope- we hope so.
backsides. But and I'm shooting a Darton. We got technicals.
I think somewhere, but let me figure it out. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Doug,
Yep.
Doug wants to know how many Dartons haven't. I've not had one Darton explode.
No.
Not one.
How many deer have they killed?
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug.
The
How many
Darton-
deer have they killed?
The Darton that I currently have right now will outrun every bow in Wayne County
We don't want to know what Doug's
and
nickname
maybe Southern
is.
Illinois.
Edwards, Wabash, Hamilton, the list goes on and on.
You know, I mean,
Uh,
you can ride a stallion or you can saddle up a pony. You know, it's
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Watch him run by.
But
all right, so let's do this. Let's start with the Mathews Lift.
the Mathews Lift. So
Yeah.
that's this year's new model, new flagship.
It is.
They have a 29 and a half.
29 and a half, and they've got a 33.
So if you see that 29.5 on that riser, that means that's a 29 and a half inch axle to axle bow. The
Axle
33,
to axle.
the
Now,
33s and
I
33
think
inch
a
bow.
lot of guys miss that. They don't recognize what that number means. and that is literally the axle to the axle.
Right.
Um,
So just disclaimer, if you've had your bow for 3 years and it's supposed to be a 33-inch bow, if you measure center of axle to center and it's way long, your strings are stretched, come down to Ultra Products and we'll help you with that.
Yeah.
That means your bow is underperforming.
Yep. And if it's doing that, I mean, it might be pounds that you're out of spec.
Yeah, we've had guys come in that, has got a 70-pound bow cranked all the way down, only pulling like 62 pounds because their strings have let out enough.
Yeah.
But that's just a little tip if you're listening. But so the Mathews Lift, 29.5, 33-inch, 2 models. It's an aluminum riser bow.
So you've got one behind you. Let's go ahead and grab it.
Yeah, because there's some features on that thing.
There are.
This is new and improved.
Hit the mic.
So be patient with us. We're bringing this in here just to give it a look at it.
Yep. Mathews Lift. This is the 33.
This is the 33
So this is the longer bow.
Mathews has done some things this year that has definitely set them apart. One of the things is that they've milled out so much of the riser in order to drop weight. And
right, because this is an aluminum riser bow that is lighter than many
most carbons.
Than many carbon bows. Yeah. We'll try to see that like that.
They have it somewhere. It's sub 4 pounds. I saw somewhere where it was 3.8, and I've seen other places where it's 3.9. I can't say that we've weighed it, but I can tell you it's light. When you pick it up, you can tell substantially, even from the Phase 4 last year, it's definitely a lot lighter bow. The draw cycle is quite a bit different than what the Phase 4 was. A little bit more aggressive, and that's how they've gotten the speed out of it that they are advertising this year. You guys want to jump in anywhere on that?
I would say the way that they've attached the cams to the limbs here too.
Yeah, you might want to say it into the mic.
Yeah, that way they could hear me then. Yeah. They could hear what I'm saying then. Instead of just watching me mouth.
Yeah. So what Josh is saying is, of course, on a podcast, you're not going to be able to see this great, but the limbs no longer are drilled and the axle go through the limb.
Yeah.
They've made basically like a saddle system here that sets on the limb, on top of the limb. So
you can hand it over to Jarrett, and Jarrett can hold it a little closer to the camera.
So you're not dealing with drilling a hole through a limb, which potentially makes a weaker spot in the limb.
And some of the weight too.
It's
allowing the limb to really have some.
You get some of the bulk out of the tip of the limb. These are just observations. So the limb in and of itself is probably lighter than the Phase 4 limb because there's not as much material there. What did we like if you compare the 33 Phase 4, which was last year's, and this one, real world, we got it.
We were getting more speed out of it than what they said.
They advertised.
They were saying 8 feet a second, and I think we were getting closer to 12.
Yes,
that's what I was seeing when I shot it through the chronograph.
Yeah, 12 to 13 feet a second faster than last year's bow, and a lot lighter.
So yeah, it's a light bow for aluminum bow.
All that being said, there are some giveaways compared to last year's Phase 4. And we've had some guys that were like, nope, don't want to do it.
Sticking with the Phase 4.
Now, and what those...
A lot of the draw cycle has turned off a lot of guys on this bow.
The draw cycle is definitely more aggressive, but it's all about what you're going for.
Right.
Are you going for a Cadillac bow or are you going for a Ferrari?
Right.
Like if you're wanting speed, this is the speed bow. Like there's always going to be a give and take amongst all these bows because they're trying to push them in one area. And in that area or in another area, they're going to lose.
Yeah, it's a trade-off.
It is always. So if they're going for speed, you're probably going to have a little bit more hand shock.
Yeah.
Or you're probably, and what Mathews did in this scenario is they were trying to find the best of both worlds.
And I'm shooting Darton, but I have to give it to him. That bow is not much louder than the Phase 4.
It's not.
And it's not like a freak ugly draw cycle.
No, it is not. Yours is a freak ugly draw.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is. It's not for the faint of heart. But and it's faster. You know, I think it's cool that we got it 12 feet a second faster.
Yeah.
And when we say that, so we take the 33-inch phase 4, set it next to the 33-inch lift, shoot the same arrow with the same draw length, and basically we're getting 10 to 12, 11, somewhere in there faster. And
that's a lot.
That's a good number. I mean, that's a good number.
Sight tapes different.
I mean, are you regretting your purchase?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Josh is a phase 4 guy.
He's got the phase 4.
I'm shooting the phase 4 currently, but I will probably move up to the lift at some point. I mean, once I bulk up a little bit.
So do you have a qualm or with this bow here? I mean, you've not been to the field with it. You've just worked on it.
I haven't been to the field with it.
And you've shot it plenty in the back
I would say if there is a qualm.
We probably put several hundred shots through them just working on them. And the one when we had the shot sense, we were back there like a bunch of kids, you know, shooting.
Yeah. And if there is a qualm, it would be that the draw cycle is more aggressive. But to me, I know that going in.
Yeah.
Like if I'm shooting for speed, I know that my draw cycle is going to be more aggressive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So people, there may be guys out there that's got it, and this is crowd participation. If you're out there, put it in the comments. What's your thoughts? There's a few people. Now, here's the deal. You get used to whatever you shoot.
Yeah, you will.
There's been a few people that have drawn it back and about take them back to grounds to static.
Yeah, because it reminds me of the old Mathews in that regard.
I mean, they're
like
ready
a little
to go.
bit more lungy.
Yeah,
you know, when you break it over, it'll keep you honest or it'll go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing that you have to get faster. Those are things that more speed
every
bows have.
speed bow, I think, is that way right now.
Yeah.
It's just the cam's so aggressive that.
Well, and they want it on the front of that cycle. That way, you know,
flips it around.
It's got to get going to make speed. But so that's your qualm. Do you have any qualms with working on it? Have you? Because I've got one.
The only qualm working on it is the yoke system is a little weird in regards to whenever you're changing out, you know.
Oh, but that would go for the phase 4 as well.
It would.
It's that hasn't really changed.
Yeah. Like they have a tendency. You have to really be meticulous, make sure that they're on their, you know,
right, not jumping out of track.
Yeah, not jumping out of track.
Right.
So
it's just
that would have to be my qualm.
Several, because there's basically when you're talking about this,
but that's
system,
entirely on working on it. The average guy in the is never going to deal with that.
So draw cycle wise, you'll give it a little tick there,
a little, but
not bad.
But I give it an uptick on the fact that you're getting the speed. So
without ridiculous,
weird
draw cycle
and the weight.
Yeah,
it's lighter.
The weight's awesome.
It's lighter
because I mean I shoot a phase 4. And we'd have to have like a dolly to drag that thing around. But it is dead quiet, and that's probably why it's dead quiet.
Part of that.
It absorbs it. And so where you can shave that weight on these.
Let me throw this out there, though. You've got to have a dolly to drag yours around because one thing that Mathews has that none of the other bows that we're going to talk about tonight have. Accessories like crazy.
Oh, man, that's where it's at.
Well, they have, other bows have them.
Bull. Not to the degree. I'm calling you.
They're not as good.
No.
I was going to finish.
Well, it used to be, remember, you would buy a bow, and then it was all about the accessories.
Yeah.
Right? These name brand accessories, you were, Shrewd or some of these other guys, you were getting different sights, and you were doing this stuff, and now Mathews has designed this system where it's Mathews.
Yeah. Mathews was like, sorry, suckers, we're taking that business
Cut
too.
them out.
Yeah.
I mean
their low pro quiver is the best I've ever seen.
It's the berries.
It works.
The best I've ever seen.
The way, I mean, the mechanism for coming apart, like it's nice, man.
Right. And then
it hugs tight. They've worked with QAD to have the new integrated rest that to me is like
stronger and smaller.
It is.
So that's good.
Everything is in line, which there are other companies that do in line. but they don't do it as well.
They don't do it like this.
They do not do it like this.
Yeah.
Let's
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Those
I
limb
mean,
legs, limb legs are
The limb legs. I
Yeah.
mean, the SDS system where you can, work on it if you need to.
in the field.
I mean,
You can put your bow rope. They have accessories now. Where you
how
can
long do you want us to go on? Because the accessories.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that their brand of quiver and their stabilizer, it's awesome.
It's impressive.
Here would be one of my qualms. If it's similar to a boat, you know what the acronym for a boat is?
Oh yeah,
break off another 1,000.
yeah. How far are you willing to go?
That's right, because all the accessories are fantastic. They're better than most out there. But if you're going to spend it, you're going to really spend
Well,
it.
if you want their accessories, you're going to pay up.
Yeah.
And this
But here's the deal on that. Other companies are following suit.
They are.
They've got their own sites, and different Bowtech's got black gold sites. They own that. They're catering their bows to that site. And you're paying up for that site. I don't know if is it as much as Mathews? I don't know.
Well, we want to shout out to Mark Phillips. Mark Phillips just tuned on. Mark Phillips is our resident Mathews guy. So, woo woo.
great bow. I
do like their new strings, which I think
is yet to be seen.
It is, but to me,
I've heard
reports
reports that they're hanging in there better with their match grade strings, and they're putting them on everything, right?
Yes.
I
Yep.
mean,
To me, that
used
was
to, like last year, you had to specify if you ordered it, I want match grade strings. Now they've just finally start putting it on every one of their bows. But so,
well, what was your qualm earlier?
Mine would be a tuning qualm, and it's really not, because you can overwhelm it. But I have seen with the Lift versus the Phase 4 that it's a little tougher sometimes to get a tune.
Well,
but that it's hard for me to call it a qualm, because it is
it's still tunable. But
yeah, it's not that it's not tunable. Man, I was set. How many phases I set up? Phase 4s. Phase 4s did I set up last year? That was like, man, it was just whammo. Yeah. And I've had to wrestle with these just a little bit more.
I agree.
Playing with the top hats, and I had to move top hats in Phase 4s, but it seems like it was a little more ornery in this to get that. But it's a faster bow.
Yeah.
High performance machines are
that's right.
You got to do a little more tuning on them.
Yeah.
But
you got to work on.
So that's really my only qualm. It wouldn't faze me a bit tomorrow if someone said, "Well, you're going to have to hunt with a Mathews this year." I'd be like, "Oh, okay." I wouldn't be upset about it. I mean, I'd get used to great big sight tapes and how far apart my pins were.
Well, not if you were shooting an 80-pound though.
No, absolutely not.
To
that's
me,
still yet to be
seen. Do we have an
80-pound
on the way?
We have them on the way.
We just don't have them, so that's still yet to be seen.
Yeah,
and one would think that
it would put the Machine Extreme to shame.
I don't know about to shame, but I think it'll be right there eye level with it.
I bet it won't.
I bet it won't either. Like, I have to say, it won't.
It won't.
Like the draw cycle.
I know. It's just,
like,
here's the deal. Like cocked and loaded,
for the guys that draw this, and are like, man, that's pretty aggressive. They have no idea whatsoever
until they pick up Machine Extreme.
The Darton Prelude from last year was the most aggressive draw cycle I've ever seen.
That's right.
Me and him were talking that his Prelude or his Darton bow could almost give a run for money for that Canadian bow. We were setting up that 100 pounds at him at 80 pounds.
Absolutely.
I believe, I told Mikey, I believe if my bow had 100 pounds, if they even made them.
Yeah.
And you could find a person that could pull it.
I wonder if Randy would send us 90s.
If you could find a person, I don't know.
Could you pull it?
I could pull 90s, but it wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be
It's not pretty watching you pull 80 sometimes.
Layton has a distinct draw, don't he?
Yeah,
that's out there first down there.
That's definitely not how it looked when I draw it.
He handed it to me, and I looked at it and handed it back. I was like, I'm not even
It
trying.
pulled the head off of a release when Wes was shooting it one
Man,
day.
my lady's shoulder is still suffering.
But where was it? We got off track.
Man.
Oh, if you had the 80-pound mods on this, would it run with mine? No.
I bet you it's going to run 7 feet fast or slower than yours. That's my guess.
So where do you think?
I don't know. I
do you
think it goes
that'll put
slower
it
than that. His is something else.
With a 450 grain arrow, I can get 320
That's fast.
out
That's
of
a
my
big arrow.
bow. You know, so
Yeah.
sight tape number 2. And I was hitting high the other day at 100 yards, so I may need to go to sight tape number 1. It's getting faster the older it gets.
It's like Lathan.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's not true. That's not true. But I don't think we'd have to test it maybe after we get done here. But so it's a marvelous good bow. It is faster than the Phase 4. It's lighter than the Phase 4. It's got better strings on it.
If anybody has any questions regarding the Mathews, we're going to push it to the back. But anything?
Well, I was going to bring up one thing here. Do you think, in your opinion, talking about how Mathews has made this system, everything's integrated together, do the aftermarket accessories, can you get the same performance out of this bow? Does it have to be Mathews that you put on this thing?
Not with the accessories.
No, because there's great companies out
there
out
is.
there.
I think what you'll see, though, I do think all the inline stuff.
That's what I'm getting at, like optimum performance, the way this thing centers up. And I'm not knocking any of these other guys.
I'm telling you, Mathews would tell you no.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure that they'd be entirely wrong. Like, because it's designed with that
Around
purpose. Yeah.
yeah,
So-
they've always been mindful of the quiet and the smooth. So, you know,
They're a good company.
building their accessories to complement that as
Around the
well.
bow.
You know,
Yeah. There's so many things about it that I like. Like, so many.
Oh, the list just goes on. I love it.
yeah,
I mean, we've not even talked about the shot sense
yeah.
because a lot of people don't realize even what that is.
The shot,
The shot sense in the handle, it has been machined out to where there is basically a little computer that goes right in the handle, and it will tell you whether you're torquing, tell you what all did it tell you? Told you how long your
it'll tell
your
you
hold was.
It'll tell you if you're holding your bow canted or level.
Yeah.
It'll tell you if you're torquing right or left, which that would be twisting on the bow.
Yeah.
Time to target.
It will.
Yeah.
It will tell you not time to target. Well,
time on hold will. It will tell you time.
It'll tell you how long you held.
Yeah.
Does it say? Maybe it did have a feature in it where it was time to target.
That'd be a good one. That would.
I can't remember, but it does show you your float.
It does.
Which within that you can find out if you're a trigger puncher and different things like that.
Yeah.
You know, it'll show you your float. You know, how much movement you moved around as you're trying to center up and squeeze the shot off. So it's pretty neat, and it hooks up to your phone, Bluetooth, I guess, right to your phone, and you could. So it is something that you could stand out in the yard with a bunch of guys and have fun.
And I think they will continue to develop that to make it better yet.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep going, you'll just sit at the house and it'll do the work for you.
It's pushing guys
kind of like trail cameras
into good technique.
That's exactly right.
We're all different in how we shoot.
Yeah.
I personally, I come on target very quickly. And if I don't take that shot, normally it's 2 times. I can come right on. I get right on target almost instantly. And there's the shot. And if not, I bypass it. It'll swing through again one more time. And after that, we're everywhere, man.
You're a swing by guy.
Yeah.
Just
so
pull the trigger as you swing by.
I would like to know the science of that, though, because here's my thing. If you're swinging past and then things go falling apart, is your poundage too much? Or, is it not balanced correctly?
Could be between your ears.
It's a lot for me personally. It's
like a mental thing. Like
I come on quick.
You start getting in that panicky.
Yeah. I'll draw and I'll come on target, and normally I'll lay right on there within a few moments, and I'll take a quick shot. and then it'll come up quick again. And after that, I start moving around a little bit.
So for me, the longer I hold, it's like the better rest I get.
Yeah.
And now there is a point within reason. There is a point where that starts going away.
Where you cross over into
fatigue. But for me to hold 3 to 5 seconds, that's like the sweet spot, like where I'm really starting to settle in.
Your mind goes there.
Yeah, if you just draw back and start hearing angels singing.
Hallelujah. We were shooting. I wish you'd been out there the other day. And was that the first time you basically shot 100 yards the other day?
No, I've shot before.
Oh, okay.
But to have somebody with me and shoot it, it's a totally different game.
So we were out here shooting 100 yards. Man, I was getting tickled. You'd pull it, you'd let it go. And I mean, like the arrow was like
still
at 20 yards. He's like, that's it.
every time.
It was funny. That's it. But there's a part of you that knows.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I did a Facebook Live this morning. And I was like, practice calling your shot. And I'm not saying top right dot. I'm not saying that. I was like, as you pull the trigger, make a mental note. I feel like I know where that arrow's going to land.
Right.
And
within reason.
And I could say when a finely tuned bow, and when you have good form, I would catch myself. I do that all the time. Hey, that's right. I could treat, I will.
That shows, I feel like that shows you have control of the bow. When you shot right.
The more I do it, I'll find myself going, oh, that was to the left.
Yeah.
And I'll walk up there and I'll be like, oh, that wasn't as far as what I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, I'm starting to gain more control over this thing, or that bow is just ultra forgiving.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
We need to move on.
All right, let's move on to Bowtech.
Bowtech, sure.
You watching, Heath?
Is there anybody out there?
So I will say this. Last week, we sold the Bowtech SR. Bowtech came out with 2 different bows flagship this year.
This is the Core SS.
Yeah, we've got the Core SS this evening, and they also had the Core SR. The Core SR was a little bit more speed, a little less forgiving, I would say. The Core SS is still a fast bow. Does it say on there what they're rating it at? I want to say it was like 340.
It just says grandma.
No,
337.
There you go, Heath.
337.
337.
He'll be calling me if he's on here.
So 337 on the SS. The SR, I know was like
340 something.
Yeah, it was like 5 feet a second faster.
Right.
One thing that's nice about, and one thing that we didn't highlight on Mathews is their switch weight mods. So no matter what, no matter what weight you want to be at, you just change out your mod.
Right.
With Bowtech, they have a rotating mod, which is kind of nice because
there's pluses to that.
There are. Now, there's also minuses to that. Mathews would argue that there's minuses.
Yep. They feel like they build their mods. And I'm not an engineer, and somebody out there that's smarter than me can be like, yeah, you're wrong on that. Put it in the comments. Tell us we're wrong.
Yeah.
But they feel like by switching mods, they are making their mod more efficient, not just rolling it around the cam. It's built to work with the cam, the shape of the cam. And if you just roll a mod around, we all know, basically what they're saying is if you're a 26-inch guy, that they're still going to utilize the cam itself
and the limbs at the full maximum potential.
Right, so you can leave with the switch weight. You can leave your limbs
fully seated,
cranked all the way down.
You get everything it has.
Yeah. Whereas with this, not so.
Yeah.
This here to
decrease poundage on this bow, you have to take some reflex.
You back out your limb bolt.
Off the limbs. Take some load off the limbs.
Yeah. Similar to if you're coming out of spec.
Right.
So, you wouldn't want to shoot your bow if it was out of spec, but a lot of companies have designed
axle to axle the same.
It does, but it's still.
But you're just taking load off the limbs.
You are.
So I mean, That's another thing. I'm like, I can't prove that here. I don't have the equipment to prove. I just have to listen to Mathews and trust that there's
what they're saying is
they're right. Because Bowtech probably say our cam's just as efficient when you roll that module around as theirs with all their switch weight and their draw specific.
The only way to figure it out is to see how much kinetic it may
yes,
right.
Yeah, you'd have to get pretty scientific and run some tests, and we could probably do that somehow, to some degree. But I personally, if I had my second choice, would maybe, I almost went Bowtech last year.
Oh, no way.
I was close last year to shooting a Bowtech, and I could be the guy because let's switch it up. Toyota today, Ford tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Keep them guessing.
Yeah,
man.
keep everybody guessing. I still chase horsepower. That's why I went with the Darton Prelude last year, and I just like it. But this bow has, man, it's hard not to say that Bowtech has more going on as far as technology in the cam and the bow itself.
They have definitely done some stuff.
I guess it's a
nice.
toss-up because you get here, sitting here thinking, but
there's also things that it's like, okay, Darton, that's Darton's. Okay, that's Darton's. Like,
well,
there's certain things that it's like, really, is it theirs, or are they just paying for the rights to
technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me,
and that's all stuff behind the scenes that only certain people know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
big dollars.
The joke that Darton owns technology on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard, find this out, could be wrong. I've heard that the cross-centric cam that Mathews has, that Darton owns it. I could be wrong. That's just hearsay.
That's the rumor.
It's just the rumor. Now, for a guy working on a bow, this is the easiest bow to work on. Now, that means nothing to somebody that don't want to work on their bow. If you bring me this bow, say, set this up, help me get it paper tuned, get it everything right and tight on it. This is the easiest one to do that on. This system down here.
Well, and a lot of guys won't understand this, but it's not a shim system.
Right. I can drive.
It's a gear driven.
Yeah, I can drive this cam back and forth in seconds.
Yeah.
Where the Mathews, if we're working on if we're getting a tear left and I need to move that cam to the left, I have to take the axle out, change top hats, which is basically a fancy shim.
So do you have to have this in a press to do this?
No.
You just lay it on
Not
the
to
table?
do that.
Not to do that.
So it's got a locking system on one side, and then on the other side, it's got your adjustment. So
just loose. Well, I think they're both on the same side.
So that's the ease.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
You're right.
You undo this lock screw here.
See, it's got a lock over on this one side.
And you can drive that cam left and right.
Essentially what it is it's a screw.
Yeah, that just runs
and it just takes that cam and moves it over and shims it based on what you want.
And then this year's model on this cable, you can fine tune very
based on your
minutely
teardrop. Yep.
You can fine tune your timing. Once again, that means nothing to a lot of people other than they want their bow in time.
Yeah.
But for me, that means, if a half a twist sometimes just isn't it, putting a twist in the string for timing, I can undo that, put a little bit of pull or less pull on this cable and bring those cams into absolutely perfect timing.
Absolutely.
And then for years they've had, some people may not know what that means, but they've had that flip disc. So this module comes off, flip it from comfort to performance. It makes the draw more aggressive, but it speeds the bow up as well.
Yeah.
So within this
doing? What's that doing when
you're flipping it over?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's taking that hump and moving it.
Yeah,
to another place.
Yeah, so where when you draw it back, it's loading up a lot harder.
Yeah,
and because it's loading up harder, it's also going to throw it harder.
It will change the draw cycle like that.
Yeah,
but within that, this is a pro for this to me, because within that, you've got like Mathews is selling you the lift. last year, the phase 4 to be faster, they're selling you this and say, hey, you can flip the disc and make it faster tomorrow if you want to.
Yeah.
Probably 5 to 6 feet per second.
And okay. So there's another option or another thing that we're not throwing out. To me, fit and finish is another thing that probably needs to be brought into this.
Yeah.
Like, because we're getting in real weeds of the technicals, and some people are going to listen to this and be like, what in the heck are they even talking about?
What's that look like?
Yeah. Right. But simply, let me say this.
We have to decide whose is better.
Well, I can tell you this. One area that Mathews suffers is their finish is not as good as what like Darton's is.
No,
it does not hold on to the same degree.
Say probably not as good as Bowtech's.
I mean, it's been an ongoing issue.
It has, like, when bows come in and they look polished by your hand, it's a Mathews.
You can tell what's been shot.
Every time.
But here's what's messed up though, and I say messed up. They also, regardless of whether it's polished, bring more money than this in pristine condition
every time. Yep.
Like, and a guy doesn't, guys
why
don't
that?
always.
Can anybody explain that?
Because it's a cult.
No,
it's just
because it's a superior, it's a
It's
superior
yes.
product.
Yes.
They've been the top bow for so long, they hold their value.
Here's the thing. This one here, we had a fella that came in earlier this year and bought a brand new Bowtech, came back in, and I told him, I'm like, you're going to suffer in comparison to what a Mathews will.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every single time, because the market dictates that, not me.
Right.
Like, I can't give you above what the market would give you. And otherwise, I'm not going to be in business.
Yeah.
We're not going to be in business very long if we do that.
Yeah, you can't give them away.
No. And every time, this bow will be outsold by a Mathews same year, and it will be twice as beat up, and it will still sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm not.
I mean, this is a beautiful bow. I mean, it is beautiful. Look how nice it is.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I do like
so
the
your
handle.
guys, your Mathews guys, and if you had a shout out to, like, man, put a better finish on them. When you say fit and finish, you're talking about multiple things, but you're saying at the end of the season, the Mathews
finish will not
shows
hold.
the beaten worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And if you shoot the snot out of it, like, it will always,
The handle,
it will at
especially
times
the
be
camo
white.
ones, camo bows, it'll be wore off shiny white down to the, like, I don't know if that's the primer base or whatever.
And I can tell you, with Darton, you don't have that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a Darton guy, because I will say this. I think Darton as a company is a fantastic company.
Right.
I think the guy that runs it is a fantastic guy. And what they're doing, they're growing their company well. They're putting out good bows. I would call Darton my for sure second.
You're for sure second.
Yeah.
They're on a big back order right now because they had a lot of people come and buy their bows this year, right?
They are.
I mean, they're making some waves. It's because they're awesome.
But
this also, they've come out with this. I think was this on last year's?
It was not.
It's just this year's.
Yep. The grip is different. What it does is it allows you to change the angle of your grip.
Yeah.
which is the big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's little things that are small and you jump past them, but there's a lot of things you can do.
The grip is where you're going to torque it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I've not found anybody that makes the perfect grip yet.
Except for Darton.
I mean, across the board. Across the board, is there someone who makes a grip that you're like, that is the perfect?
You mean OEM? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Right out of the box.
Yeah, but have you found anybody that picks up that Darton right there with that grip? They had a grip I didn't like, but the last 2 years,
the Spectra was not great, right?
Right.
The Spectra was a little weird.
It wasn't like just a passionate hate for it.
It was just a little blocky.
It was a little thin for me.
little squared off.
But anybody that picks up Darton, they've put that grip on all their bows. It's the same grip that's on last year's bow. And every review I've watched of people is like, man, I like the grip on this bow. You know,
It feels good in my hand.
It feels good.
All right. So Core SS. We should have come up with a rating system.
Yeah.
If you were going to give that bow a 1 out of a 10 across the board overall, where would you fall?
I haven't shot at a ton.
I will say this: Bowtech on their draw cycle, to me, from last year to this year, massive.
Oh, I can
improvement.
second that. I
like
can
it
tell you
better.
the day we opened it, I said, "Wow, this is night and day difference from last year's."
Yeah, massive
yeah.
improvement.
I don't know. If I was rating it, I'd give it, you know, a little less than my Darton. No, I don't. That's getting too. That's getting. I don't have. We didn't develop a system. It'd be unfair because I could just say, well, it's a 9 out of 10. You know.
We might have to develop the system.
Yeah.
Gold stars.
And that's all relevant to who picks it up, because one guy's going to be like, yeah, it's awesome.
All right, so let's move on to, do you want to do flagship Darton first? We probably should.
I'll go get it.
It's right here.
Oh, you can get it.
Switch this out with that one.
Oh, it's the age-old mine is better than yours, but at the end of the day, we don't, we want everybody.
Mine is really better than yours.
Yeah,
But it might be. I mean, that's why we're doing this.
You have to, you just have to get them out and shoot them. We're all made a little different. Our hands are shaped different. Our heads are definitely shaped different.
What's in between them for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I got a big melon, you got a small one. That's how it goes. So, I mean, things feel different for people, but this bow is impressive.
This is the Darton Sequel 33.
It's the 33. They also have one just like it in
a
31.
Yep.
So it's just a little shorter. Looks exactly the same as far as the riser, the cutouts, the cam, the limbs, all the way down to pretty much everything. It's just shorter.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome bow. I mean, I ordered this bow right in the 31. In the 31. Don't have it yet, so I'm still shooting last year's model. But I don't have nothing bad to say about it.
Sure you don't.
I like that they use natural strings. I do like that.
It's cool.
It's not only cool, but natural strings don't tend to degrade as quick, and they stretch less. I also like one thing that I was not crazy about. I liked their e-system last year.
Yeah.
But after we've done testing on it, it actually has been pretty good.
I think they still have the E-system on their target bows. I think their target bows are running the E-system. And once again, that means not a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
For me, that's a tinker and loves to crawl all over one and play with it, I can manipulate the limbs because it turned it. It was basically a split yoke system, and this is a split yoke system. It's just a different style.
Yeah, it's not quite as tunable.
What is the rating of feet per second on this?
That's a good question.
The tag is off of it.
Let me look real quick.
It's and Darton steps out of the box and says this is the actual speed.
Yeah.
They don't say IBO. They don't say ATA or ASA.
Yeah.
Sorry. They say actual speed, and that's them shooting. Obviously, probably maxing a bow out with the longest or the most weight they can get on it, and which is probably 70 pounds. I don't know if they're testing 70s or 80s, but 70 pounds with the most draws they can, shooting the lightest arrow, because everybody wants to know what's the max this baby can run.
So actual speed is 334 to 335 is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
The draw length 25 and a half to 31. So you've got options. Draw weights are adjustable by 10-pound increments based on your limbs. Let off is 87 to 80 pounds, or 87 to 80%.
So it's got all the sweets on it. It's got the cut for the integrate rest to go on it. It's drilled and tapped for a back bar. Crazy awesome. They've done a lot more machine work in the riser this year. So I mean, it
is also machined for integrate rest.
Yes.
Does it have? It does not have the integrated sight.
It does not.
It does not. Still have to bolt onto the side. You know, that's not a deal breaker for me. It could be.
Did you know that QAD owns the integrate
the patent
to machine it like that?
No kidding.
Yep.
But did that come out on the Mathews bow first though?
I don't know.
I think it did.
I want to say it did.
Well, they own the patent on it. So
they're doing pretty good.
And interesting as it is, listen to this. Someone came in the shop who told me that he had developed that in the 80s and he didn't get it patented.
No kidding.
He developed it for overdraw systems and did not patent it. And then QAD went ahead and patented it.
He cries himself to sleep. Then,
yeah, that's right.
I mean, I like the bow. I love I'm very accustomed to the grip. I like the grip. I love shooting off the riser. I've gotten used to it. The first time I shot off a riser would have probably been the Bowtech Guardian. Remember, it just had side plates.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I like this. You know, at first I was like,
and why do you like that?
I don't know. I
feel
one with the bow more. You know, there's not there's not something in between me and the bow.
Do you even wrap it? Do you
No,
nothing? So you're just like, it's so cool.
No, it's right. It's right. The grip's right. There's not a hot spot on it for me. Yeah. You know, I've kind of got carpenter thumb knuckles. You know, it doesn't dig on my thumb. It fits. It's right. It goes to ground zero when I draw it back.
What bow was it that we shot that it was like, good grief, that wears on our thumb?
Martin had one that liked to chew my knuckle off.
Really bad. Every time you would.
Yeah, we were sponsored by Martin for several years.
Yeah.
And that's where Doug's getting confused. I did have a Martin want to blow up on me quite a bit, but nothing against Martin. They put bow after that. Same bow, but I mean, I never had no problems with it. Shot good.
Over the years, we have been sponsored by nearly every bow company.
Here's the deal. I've shot them all, except I've never went to the woods with a Hoyt.
Elite. I owned an Elite.
You owned an Elite.
I've heard good things about them.
I never went to the woods with a Hoyt.
We've been sponsored by Mathews.
I'm surprised you don't shoot a Hoyt.
Well,
he does.
Do I look like a Western
guy?
If your beard was a tad more trim,
you got the snake boots.
I'm telling you, you got the right boots on. You got the right shirt on.
There's a whole story.
I'm looking at. Yeah,
there's a whole story.
His jeans are embroidered.
They have embroidered on them.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to shoot a Hoyt?
I mean, I would shoot a Hoyt. I've heard some good things, man.
Man, this year I think I've
heard some things about him.
He bleeds Hoyt.
I mean, you have to pry that Mathews out of my hand.
He bleeds Mathews above the waist. And Hoyt.
That's what you're saying. Hoyt shooters are finally dressed. That's why
you can pretty much call one out as they walk through the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you just go?
All that being said, you can pretty much do it with Mathews guys too. Like there's a unique,
there is
certain guys you can tell that's a Mathews guy, Hoyt guys.
Well, here's the deal with Mathews guys. Most of the time they are merched up.
They are.
You know, you got a Mathews hoodie on.
Unpacking.
You got a Mathews hat on.
That's right.
Mathews, whatever Mathews has done, they do it well, and their marketing is off the hook. It always has been, and somehow they get everybody to believe that, you know, you can't leave the house without a Mathews hat or a hoodie or a t-shirt.
And that's why they call it a cult, right there.
You should see the forums I follow. These guys hate on each other. You guys, you don't shoot Mathews, they won't even talk to you or eat dinner with you.
Yeah,
You know? It's
like get out of my house, off my lawn, you know, all that type of stuff. But
We did have a guy come in the shop like that. You guys asked him what I was going to shoot next year, and I said Hoyt, and we had about a 10 to 15-minute rant.
Gagged, probably.
it was hilarious too.
He was
wasn't
on fire.
Yeah.
He was ready.
It's
It was
real,
like,
huh?
he
Yeah,
may
it was
even
real
take
thing.
that act on the road because he didn't miss a lick.
Relax,
Yeah,
man.
you know, but I feel like you guys are pulling us away from what's really important.
We just keep. I don't know if you've noticed, but this discussion continues to keep coming over to.
I can say this with Darton. Darton is a very solid company, and they've produced a very solid bow this year.
They are. Now, Machine Extremes over here on the floor, and that's my Darton Prelude from last year. I have a tendency to, he's actually
Here.
2.0, Machine Extreme 2.0.
Yeah.
Because years ago I had a bow, I think it was the Jennings Airspeed. And it was when Jennings came out and pushed the envelope on a fast bow. But that bow would hurt your hand when you shot it.
Yeah.
Like the hand shock was like I can remember after 30 shots being like, my hand hurts. You know? But I
No more
loved
that.
it and ate it up because it was like, this thing is screaming
Yeah.
fast. I enjoyed shooting just the fast. You can reach out and do more things with a flatter cast of the arrow.
Yeah.
So I started nicknaming bows and I called it Machine Extreme. And then I picked this one up and it was like, this one does all that and more faster without the hand. It doesn't hurt my hand. I mean, and all that stuff. But
Is it pretty dead in hand?
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice shoot.
Everybody just has to take my word for it because most people
Can't
can't draw it
even-
back.
Well, one thing that sticks out to me is the way they run their stabilizer. And they kill their vibration with this bow.
Yeah,
Down.
which it comes with. It does come with like
a lower
a
stabilizer.
built-in.
Yeah.
You know, it comes off, so you could run a different one there.
And
But
I'll
it's
go
also,
on record and say the Hoyt bow did have that first before the Darton came out.
well,
with that.
Matthews probably really had it
They
first.
probably did. They probably did. So-
They just did it a different
Uh.
way with the little feller that's out there. I think the Triax came out with that, didn't it? Or the Halon didn't
I think it
have
did. Yeah.
The Triax, all of a sudden they said, we have found the optimal spot to absorb, you know, and
Transfer their
harmonic
energy into-
dampenization.
Yes.
but
Yeah.
and then people followed suit. So it does seem like a lot of people are trying to catch Mathews. It does, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that this isn't a great bow.
Oh no.
Fit and finish, you're not going to wear this finish off.
No,
I
they
promise you,
use a
I've
different
tried.
style than what everybody else does. Everybody else does, I think it's a water base.
Like a hydro. dip.
This is like a gel, is what they called it, I believe. I know their logo is a gel, which honestly, their logo is pretty cool on the bow.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a 3-dimensional raised.
Fill it on there.
Oh, that's nice.
There you go. Slowly but surely, you will come to the other side of the table.
We sold a Darton yesterday. The one that we sold, it was the 31. It is in the King's camo, and that King's camo looks good.
It looks good on there, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
looks good on there.
King's camo is what Raven is using for their camo, and I have to say, Randy did a good job choosing that camo pattern. It looks sharp.
It looks good. And that particular guy, I got to see him again a while ago. He bought it yesterday, and we
Yep.
let the draw out. He decided he'd like another half inch on his draw. We let it out
Yep.
just a while ago. And I was listening to him. He's like, yeah, I shot this, and then I shot that Darton.
He knew.
And he's like, man, that thing is silky. This one is, last year, the Prelude probably hurt a lot of people's feelings because they couldn't pull it back. But this one this year is pretty buttery.
It is.
And
Yeah.
it makes good speed to be as buttery smooth draw as it is.
The Spectra E was an easy drawn bow.
Very much so, yeah.
And then they came out with the Prelude wanting to do more of a speed,
Power, horsepower. bow.
and it was.
It is.
And
They
then
accomplished that.
I feel like this year what they did with the sequel is they found the center point of those two things.
Right.
Merged them. didn't
They really
Right.
did. So
Right.
very nice bow. If I was going to pick it, I think I would pick it in. I think I would go with the 31.
I like the 30. I've shot them both.
Yeah.
The 31's a skosh faster.
Yep.
When I say that, you're talking just a few feet per second. Shorter bows typically are a little faster than longer bows. And then the trade-off, it felt just as stable. These bows, I think, got them all beat right out of the box. Pick them up, pinch the thing, and it sits there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sits there. And obviously, you're going
You're
to change
pinching it
that
real hard, though.
Yeah.
Well, its figure's turning white.
My Mathews won't do that. It wants to go.
No, it sits there, and you're going to change that when you put stuff on it. So you'll have to compensate here and compensate there. But out of the box, I'm going to challenge anybody. This bow will point better than them other bows. When I say point, when you draw it back with nothing on it and point it at the target, you're going to find that it points good.
And that's kind of what it's all about.
That's right. Yeah, slowly but surely he comes to the other side.
So, I would say we have a bow that we also wanted to add into the mix. It's not a flagship bow. It's a consumer bow, but to me,
But who makes it?
Darton.
That's right.
I will say this. It was hands down, as far as consumer bow, it ran away with everybody else.
Absolutely.
So you say consumer, you mean it's like a price point?
It is a $700 bow.
A little more friendly on the pocket.
Yeah. And right now, I mean, if you want to order one, you're anywhere from 6 weeks out, I think, right now, because
it's made some waves.
Yeah, it has. FMJJ did a video on it. That thing was, it's a nice bow. What it does is it shoots as fast as almost all the flagship bows, and it does so while at the same time having a 7.5-inch brace height, and that is the Darton Consequence. The Darton Consequence, I will say, has been
maybe one of the most talked about bows this year.
I would say so. And
coming soon to your neighborhood.
The only thing that I would say in regards to it that I'm like, man, what were they thinking there? They did not offer it in the King's camo.
Well,
and
because you got to pay up to get those. I mean, the company themselves has to pay to get that, those.
But man, for the bow and what it is, I think they missed.
Do you know off the top of your head the colors in that bow? Because it doesn't have as many colors and options as far as finishes.
It comes in this.
It's still got the good finish on it, though.
Yeah.
That Darton puts on their bows.
I shot this bow, and this bow here draws good. It shoots good.
This
is
it's a
bow.
Well, I can go and tell you when we got it, I thought it was the flagship.
Yeah, this is a good bow. There's no doubt about it.
You see it sitting there, and you think, man, it's kind of short and stocky, like, but man, this little thing does the stuff.
Yeah.
What was it shooting in comparison
Gosh,
to
we
the
shot
others?
so many, but I mean,
it was in the 280 range.
You're going to run, if you run a light arrow, I got 300s out of it.
You did.
Like silly light, like, you know, like a 350, 360, you know, what most people are not going to hunt with.
I want to see
and that was at 30 inches, I think, or something like that. It was letting it all the way. But
I'm going to look and see what they're advertising it at.
And the adjustability of this, like,
it's got the same cam that their flagship. Now, here's what a lot of companies don't do that Darton did on this bow. They released their flagship, and most companies have a bow that is a little more friendly on the pocket, that you're not going to pay the big $1,300 or $1,400 for nothing on it. But you don't get the exact same cam that their flagship has. You don't get aluminum pockets. Many of them have polymer plastic mods on them.
Yeah.
It's got the 1/4 inch, the big axles, aluminum limb pockets.
This is probably best bang for the buck.
The same finish, the same strings. It's got a roller guard on it. You don't get roller guards on a lot of price point bows or budget. I don't know what to call it. Consumer friendly, whatever you want to call it. You don't get those things most of the time.
So this bow
There's
here,
no plastic. This little piece, the yoke piece, is even aluminum. And Mathews is polymer.
yeah.
They just went
Good,
extra.
really good polymer. Though.
Yeah.
This bow here,
Great polymer. The best of the polymers.
I'll tell you guys about this bow here in a second.
Tell us about it.
This bow here is $699. That's the MSRP on it. They advertise an actual speed of 320 to 321. I assume that's with probably a 26-inch arrow at 350.
We did light as they can safely shoot. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's 300. They don't say, but I know I shot like that Zombie Slayer arrow, which is pretty light out of it. I think it touched like 304 or something like that.
304
at 30 inches, with a.
Or was it a 31-inch draw at the time, or?
It was either 30, whatever
it's
it was.
31 and a half is the max draw.
Well, I let it all the way out, so it was doing all she'll do.
Yeah.
On 70 pounds. So yeah, I was probably 31 and a half.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're not going to do that if you're a 28-inch guy, or a 27-inch guy. But it does tell you that it's for a 7.5-inch brace height. People may not understand what that means when you're watching or listening.
It's a very forgiving
Your
bow.
brace height is this distance between the back of the grip and the string, 7.5 inches. If that's a big number, which today 7.5 inches is a big number. Back in the day, we had 10s and all kinds of stuff. That's a big number today. That means this bow is going to lend itself to being more forgiving. So I think it's interesting that they went short, but a big brace height. Because if you go shorter, axle to axle, sometimes you get a little less forgiving. But then they brought that brace height out, which lends it back to be forgiving. I think people be blown away. The reflex on this bow is almost zero.
Yeah.
Reflex is where you bend the limb to the straight line through to the back of the grip. If the reflex is near zero, the bow is crazy forgiving, and that's what that is.
That's the highest quality I personally for myself. A forgiving bow that's what I look for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can't shoot it, you can't hit what you're aiming at.
You get have a little grace over here. As he swings through.
Yeah.
Mathews guy.
So in this shop, we shoot a lot of bows. Nearly every bow that's made, we're end up shooting at some point.
Yeah, because even if we're not doing it, we're working on any bow for anybody, so.
And for the price point, there's not a bow out there that carries what this one does.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think there is. I think there's some that are close to it, but not it.
Yeah.
What kind of options can you get on the limbs as far as weight? Can you bring this down to like go
to 50?
Yes.
So a 50 would do down to 40.
So extremely adjustable then. This would fit about anybody.
Yep. And as far as your draw, let me see here.
But this does come in a 70-pound option though, right?
It does.
Yeah. This one's 70 pounds. So you've got like a 60.
I wish they would do an 80 on it.
Yeah. I mean, there is kind of a resurgence. I've noticed if you watch YouTube and there's a resurgence to pull 80. And
guys are going big.
Yeah. And people, there's always going to be someone's like, you don't have to do that. And you don't have to do that.
I think the reason why is because of range vary. That's my opinion. I think if guys are going to shoot a heavier shaft, they're thinking,
but he
in order to get the speed.
If you watch him, he doesn't lean anybody to shoot heavy. Like
he doesn't. But I think the mindset has created that because here's the deal: most guys don't want to suffer their speed for their weight. So in their mind, I'll shoot the weight, but I'll do it by upping my poundage.
Right. I mean, it's obvious if you can push a heavier projectile faster.
Yeah.
It's more devastating.
I mean, Mikey Rutger's come in here. Mike, he's been Mikey for me as long as I've lived.
And his phone number is and his no.
Well, he came in with
his name.
An APA, and it's 100-pound bow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he is shooting telephone poles.
600 and almost 60 grain arrows.
That's crazy.
I think they topped that, didn't they?
Well, it was
right at
like
670.
640
670 is
it
what I
was like
thought.
six. Well, it depended on, that was the difference between 100 and 125. I don't remember for sure, but he's knocking on 700 grains.
Yeah.
What kind of speed at?
He was shooting
310, I thought.
Oh my gosh.
308,
That's
307,
bone
309.
shattering. It's like knock him to the ground.
Yeah, with 600 plus, getting close to 700 grain arrows.
That's killing T-Rexes.
And
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, it is,
here's
yeah.
how I feel about that. This is why I think my bow is better than all you guys' bow.
And that's just an
Here we
opinion.
go.
It's just
We
such
have
an
to
opinion.
we have to have that conversation because it's the battle of the bows.
Well,
Is because I can shoot. I did it the other morning. I can shoot a 500 grain arrow to right now to 90ish.
that's fast.
I'll tell you what, I will concede that Darton is the best company. If you go out there and put on that yellow Darton shirt and come back in here,
Dude, it's like a super small, isn't it?
I will say it right
How
here,
much do
right
you
now.
love them? You know,
My only problem is I'm a pastor, and that may not be, might be somewhat
Yeah, you
not X-rated.
Well, you sure don't want to cause the ladies to sin.
no,
so.
we
Yeah.
don't. We don't want to
No,
cause. We don't want to.
no,
we don't
when
want to
my-
cause anybody to
when my
stumble.
belly button's hanging out underneath of it.
I don't know if
Little
it would be.
midriff
And it's not a 20-year-old belly button anymore.
A lot of people don't realize this, but we bought this shop, and when we bought it, there was stuff from, well, I think Fred Bear at one time shopped with this shop. So,
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
and we've got stuff that, man, it's old, and we've got original Darton shirts from back when.
They're so awesome. And I was
They
like
are.
tickled when I found one. I was like, look at this. Ah! And then I think the only one we got's like a small.
Yeah, like extra small.
Yeah, and I don't know if I could rock a small.
Stretch it out, man.
You go put that on, I will tell you that Darton is the greatest boat company in the world.
Oh, dude.
Just have to cut the sleeves.
I didn't
off.
realize this was going to turn into truth or dare. I thought this was Battle of the Bows. Where daring me to put on a shirt that's 3 sizes too small. Coming here singing like Chris Farley.
Oh my god.
Little overweight guy in a small shirt. But
Yeah.
so
Fast bow,
back
big
to
arrow.
back to my bow. Here's my thing. Here's one way I think. No, I don't. I can shoot 50 pounds and kill deer.
Yeah.
I have no qualms, no issues with that. The difference could be when I make an aired shot on a big bone, shoulder, something to that nature. If I'm pushing it that hard,
Never done it.
if I've
Your
got
mind
video-
just starts going click, click, click. That was
I've
questionable.
said, anyway, if that happens, and I don't
Yeah.
care who it is, it will happen.
Oh yeah.
It will happen. You know, I don't need 80 pounds and 296 500 grain arrow, 290 feet per second to shoot through the guts. I don't. So if you make that error, that's where I'll get on board with the guys shooting 2+ inch broadheads. If you make that error, that's where the big broadhead makes up for it in a gut shot. Cut more guts.
Yeah, but that's
Right.
never the goal.
That's
It
not
should
the
not be
not
the
the goal.
standard.
Not the goal.
No,
not the
you're-
goal.
Yeah.
But if I make the air the other way
Sure, and you get to shoulder.
and I shoot the humerus, the big ball joint of the shoulder on a huge whitetail, maybe. I'm not even saying it will, but I stand a better chance of getting through there to the goods, because right behind it's the goods.
Oh yeah.
So I stand just a little better chance of breaking that and getting that deer instead of the sad story of my arrowing in this far.
You watched a flag run
Yeah.
off. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It just is, right?
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, that's the math would say there's a chance with the right broadhead I'll break through there. And also, if I make the other shot through the guts, I'm going to still shoot through. And if I play my cards right, can get that deer.
Yeah.
And if I make the chip shot behind the shoulder, he's dead no
Oh, yeah.
matter what.
Oh, yeah.
So my only thing is I do love the close pin gap on my sight.
Sure.
I love that.
That's a valid argument.
I
Everything else you just said to me, It's not there.
What's the valid argument?
The valid argument is the close pin gap for me.
Sure.
Everything else you just
You don't
said,
like the thought of being able to push a 500 grain arrow.
I love the
close
thought
to
of
300
that.
feet
I can
a
do that
second.
with my Mathews.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I'm
Like,
telling you that bow
advances
right
in-
there, you could come real close. I think you've got it edged out. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, you drive a faster car, man.
You
Okay.
drive a faster car. I mean,
Man, that's something we'll have to address in the days ahead.
Well-
I wish we had 80-pound mods in here because I don't think you can.
tune back in for when we get the 80-pound mods and the 80-pound limbs. That's
My
right.
range, it's 720.
His requires limbs while ours requires mods.
An Allen wrench.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But
His requires you to take it all the way apart while ours requires, what is it? Like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. Someone needs to run that test. Someone needs to run that test. Does a mod, does the mod, the 80-pound mod, outrun 80-pound limbs?
Well, there's.
I would say it'll never outrun the 80-pound limbs.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I think I do.
I think that there's such a curve that's come now. The technology, the advancements in the arrows now, these microdynamic. There's so much kinetic energy.
That's another great debate.
Man, I'm telling you, man. Listen, you guys turned me on to some arrows this year, and they were laying on the other side of everything I shot.
Yeah.
I was like, "Where's my arrow?" I'm like, "Oh, I bet it was right there."
Yeah.
And it was.
It's stuck 6 inches in the ground.
Yeah, after the rib cage.
That's another debate that we have frequently in the shop.
Yeah.
Does that correlate to, and I feel like it does.
Yeah.
I feel like
kinetic
small diameter.
I don't know if it does. I don't know if it does.
energy, in my opinion.
It does in foam.
It does in foam.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
No doubt in foam.
I mean, I stacked 3 targets together and had to dig my arrow out of there.
Yeah, but I don't know if it translates to the body cavity of an animal the same.
Well, but it's hitting harder. It's got to be because
Well,
there's not as much friction. There's not as much.
I don't know
slowing
that
it
it's
down.
hitting any harder.
I don't know that it's hitting harder. My argument would be it's creating a larger hole, and then it doesn't have friction
Which would be
on the backside of it.
Right.
there's nothing to slow it down. There's not
Yes.
as much to
If
slow
you could
down.
look at it like this, the arrow is the rotor on a car, the foam target is the brake pad squeezing the
Yeah.
arrow. I'm sure a fatter shaft, it's got more to squeeze.
But the farther in there you go, right? But well,
Fat's always got a little bit more to squeeze.
that's a little more give, don't it?
because you got you hopefully got the same size field point
Mhm.
of the shaft of the arrow, so it's poking the same size hole, so there's more grab on the arrow. Now, soon as I go deer hunting, I put a broadhead on that cuts a hole
Yeah.
that leads the way. So I don't know if it translates. I think it probably would through bone, maybe. If the bone doesn't shatter, it pokes a hole through the bone, and now the arrow don't have to drag. So I'll give them that one.
It keeps going.
But
But
you,
we do have one knucklehead that commented 80 pounds is 80 pounds, makes no difference, limbs or mods.
I don't
That
know.
is not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
But because here's the deal, draw cycle
Yes.
does change things.
Absolutely.
It just does.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
the guy that said that, he probably
Here's what
doesn't know jack
I don't know how
squat.
you test it. You'd have to have a. You would have to have a. You'd have to have a 80-pound. Like with mine, I could test it. Right? No, you'd have to. There's no way to test it.
I'm sure there's a way to test it.
They'd have to
but-
be maxed out. Everything would have to be maxed out. That'd be the only way to do it, wouldn't it? I mean,
But what do they have? No, there's a way to test it. Because there's a thing that reads like Kevlar, to where you know when it hits,
kinetic energy.
the kinetic that it hits at. I think you could test it that way.
There is some software out here that's breaking down the performance of these bows.
Yeah.
Take some measurements and it'll give you pretty on the money kinetic energy. on
And I
this.
would like to know even how much, if a draw cycle is drastically different at 80 pounds, does it affect the spine of an arrow?
Sure. I mean,
Because in that scenario, is 80 pounds? Or
No.
is the drive different?
the drive. It's
Like-
how hard it pushes on it.
How
well-
long is it? 80 pounds.
Well, here's the deal.
Right.
Like
yeah.
Lathan's bow, we put it in the draw board and you get it back 3 inches and it's at 80 pounds.
Yeah.
It's the
then
hardest
it's-
pulling 80 pounds. It pulls 80 pounds almost to the end.
Yeah, it pulls 80 all the
So
way
the
through.
entire
Most
cycle.
bows
Yes.
you put in there, so some are front load, some are back load.
We had an Athens come in the other day. I'm just telling you, Lathan's bow, it sucks to draw it back. Like, I've drawn it back. I shot it one
Unless
day.
you have these huge masculine haunches for shoulders.
That God did not grace me with that.
No,
So-
I'm just teasing. You got to get used to it.
So I've drawn it back. The other day, a guy comes in with an 80-pound bow, and I don't realize it's an 80-pound bow.
Yeah.
I thought it was a 70-pound bow. I draw it back, draws back nice, easy draw. I shoot it, and I can tell when I shoot it, it's faster than what
Yeah.
I'm used to shooting. So I look at it, which I'm shooting 75, but instantly I could tell a difference compared to the average bow that comes in here. So I look at it, it's an 80-pound bow. I can tell you it is worlds different. And we put it on the draw board. It was like,
It was only like
you could see it
maybe-
step up 10 pounds every.
Yeah, there was only about
2.5 inches.
2.5 inches in there that pulled 80 pounds. The rest
Yeah.
of it was
Just
all
didn't let go.
Yeah.
Got let off.
So
like it was building up
easy.
slowly, hits that 80 pounds for about 2 inches of that cycle,
And
and
just
then
falls
then-
off.
So do you
then
think
rolls off.
every 80-pound limb bow draws 80 pounds from the start like Lathan's?
no, because that one didn't.
No,
that,
it
that was
doesn't.
that was a limb bow. That wasn't a mod bow.
Yeah, it was an Athens with 80-pound limbs on it. Yeah.
The only way I think a guy could really get a true result on that is if it was the exact same cam.
That's what I'm saying. The only way to test it would be you need a Mathews with 80-pound mods on it.
Yeah.
And then you need a Mathews with 80-pound limbs on it,
Yeah.
and see if they shoot exactly the same speed, or is one going to shoot faster?
Pretty sure Mathews already has 80-pound limbs on there. All you gotta do is put a mod on it. I mean, it's already
Yeah.
handling 80 pounds.
That's right.
No,
Yes.
you're changing the load.
His argument is legit.
Just straight up. The limb will bear the load, right? You just put a mod on there, it'll bear the load. I got you though.
Yeah, it's just their
It's
load.
getting
and it.
serious.
All right, guys.
That's getting serious.
We are.
I'm joshing you.
We're an hour and 11 minutes in, and that's probably all that people can handle. So,
Man.
Josh, people can't handle any more of you.
It's the
Basically-
infectious laughter.
At the end of the day, we've established that Darton has a better system.
So here's the thing.
I have a good system.
We've got Darton, we've got Bowtech, we've got Mathews all here in the shop. If you want to prove Lathan wrong, come in and shoot it.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
you want to
they're-
prove me
they're-
wrong,
they're
come in and
all-
shoot it.
They're all great. They're great bows. It's amazing. I mean, it's a joy for me to shoot all of them. So they're
Yeah.
all good. I don't want anybody to listen to us and think, that I'm hating. I'm not hating on Mathews. They're awesome. It's just we love to give each other a
Oh,
hard
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
Bowtech's amazing. The tunability, all the stuff they got going on is amazing. We've got Bears and PSEs in here. They're pretty good too. They all have their pluses, but here's the deal. We know that Mathews, Bowtech, Hoyt, Darton, they're all Darton. People may not realize it, but if they want to, they're going to set at the top of the hill
Oh,
with
yeah.
those if they want to push the company into that.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is somebody to pick them up like that guy today or yesterday. He shot this bow, shot that bow. He picked up the Darton Sequel. He shot it, and he's like, "That's the one." So I mean,
here's the thing: 29.5 inch axle to axle. Mathews Lift, 29.5 inch axle to axle. $700,
Oh yeah.
$1,379.
Yeah.
Like, there's guys that will come in for the lift and be like, "Ugh, I'll take this,"
Oh yeah.
and not because this is a fantastic bow. The lift is a fantastic bow. The lift has it edged out in a lot of areas. Whether that area is enough to make that jump,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to decide if that's $600.
It really comes down to that.
Well, that's going to be able to put a set of sides.
I was going
on
to say
there.
accessories is that right
it's
there,
gonna
you
equip
know?
it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you have to have a rest. You have to have a side.
Yeah.
They're all good. We love everybody. We're so thankful for you watching. Yeah. Hope we didn't hurt anybody's feelings around the table here. I mean,
I'm telling you, this week, I can say this. We've had more people watch that have not previously tuned in. And for that, we appreciate it. Switch over to a different camera. We appreciate you guys tuning in this week. Scott Fiala turned in, Jay Wallace, Nathan Easton, Angie Cole, Austin Schuster, man, all sorts of people watching. Kaylee Surratt, Kevin Boyer. Kevin was a great, if you guys haven't watched Kevin's episode, it was a really good one at Elite Land Management. Jeremy Simpson, Nick Kersetter, Josh Manahan, Lucas Webb, Tyler Chapman, all you guys watching, Aaron Book. We just want to say thank you guys. We appreciate it. You guys have been faithful week in and week out. And because of you guys, we keep doing this. We want to make sure we provide you guys with, good entertainment. So this week, we brought on some entertainment. So.
Mine's better than yours.
Hopefully you guys get in the shop, check out these bows. It won't be long. Season will be back in. And I can tell you, there was a little lull right after season went out, but guys have been coming in already with the mindset that it won't be long. Season will be back in. So
Gotta get my rig right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we just want to say thank you guys. We appreciate it. We will be back next week. Who will be on next week? I'm not positive.
Yeah.
This week was kind of an oddball. We were supposed to have two different guys on. They
fooled us.
Lucky them.
We were supposed to
The
have
upgrade.
Bill McCall on, and Bill McCall is. If you guys come up to Ultra, you'll see Bill McCall on the front of the building.
Yeah.
Bill is a shot like no other. He is in the senior pro, and that's because he's an old fella, but we won't hold that against him. He also carries a lot of wisdom. And because of that, we hope to get him on the show here before long. We know that what he has to say would be good. So.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll teach us something. He'll let us all out on which bow's the best. Probably.
Yeah. Hopefully when
I think he shoots a dart.
When the oh my word, he does.
He does.
Hopefully when the ASA happens, he can come and give us some wisdom on the Darton. So.
Right. Well, he shot Mathews too.
He has. Yeah.
He's probably shot them all.
Yeah.
But
so we appreciate you guys watching. We will be back next week with another great podcast, and we'll catch you then.